Jai Ma. So we continue with On Thoughts and Aphorisms, which is part of the collected works of the Mother, Volume 10. And as we are seeing, it's a perfect recipe for all human narrowness, all fanaticism, all kinds of smallness, rigidity, which prevents us from soaring into the vastness, from entering into contact with the divine consciousness. And the mother says this very clearly that to really find the divine in his splendor, one has to go through that process of universality. It comes several places. One cannot remain shut in narrow, small conceptions of life, ideas, frameworks. One has to get past that. Otherwise, one will be very satisfied in one's own littleness. So, thoughts and aphorisms are a perfect remedy for that. In certain ways, they are like if one were to say, somebody asked me a little sometime back that I am getting bored of everything, what should I do? So I said, you join the Department of Spirituality. So the person said, but spirituality is in everything. I said, no, physics in everything, chemistry is in everything, biology is in everything. So also spirituality is in everything. But by joining this means speciality, you discover that which is beyond the human mind, and that opens doors to new vistas, new challenges, new ways of understanding. So the person asked which college I should enroll myself to. I said, Sri Aurobindo's college. So there are different grades, and the highest gradation is almost when you are with thoughts and aphorisms, because they literally are mind blowing. They blow up the mind. They break all those conceptions and opens us to something very vast. So we start with. I'm doing it little lazily. That's what, because apart from the fact that they are very beautiful and powerful, but they really open. It really opens the mind. I had long back read a little sentence from long back before coming in contact with Sri Aurobindo. So minds are like parachute; they function best when they are open. So I used to wonder, that's okay, but how do I open the mind? How do I open the parachute? So the typical recommended way is read out of books. That helps you to widen horizontally. You can travel to places, it widens you horizontally. But by opening is opening to something which is beyond. And that no books tell you. But just reading Sri Aurobindo, especially thoughts and aphorisms, automatically the mind opens to infinite possibilities. So one of them is when mother speaks of life here, and she says Sri Aurobindo wanted just about 100 people. The disciple says, I have noticed that in the extreme difficulty of the outer conditions of the world, the aspiration was much more intense. She says, yes, of course, this is so true, because you lead a harassed life, you are from every side. Here she is provided with everything. Actually, it's unimaginable. Just breathing this atmosphere is like rejuvenating. Wherever one may go out in the world, and I travel so much, and every time it's like literally saas vapas aa gayi. Your breath has come back. So it's true that here you are supported at every level. So the disciple says, it is much more intense, it is almost a question of life and death. And mother says, yes, that's it. Of course, this applies to those who have taken to the yoga. Average person is very happy there, and he prefers the smell of the fish to the smell of the flowers. This is nothing against those who eat fish. So, so then she says, that is to say, man is still so crude that he needs extremes. That is what Sri Aurobindo said. For love to be true, hatred was necessary. True love could be born only under the pressure of hatred. This is such a sad thing, but so true. That's it. One must accept things as they are and try to go further. That is all. That is probably why there are so many difficulties. Now she's going to reveal something like a home secret. So we should pay attention to it carefully. That is probably why there are so many difficulties. Difficulties accumulate here. Now, here is referring to ashram. Difficulties accumulate here. Difficulties of character, health, and circumstances. Why? Because it's a place of change. And so the pressure is tremendous because otherwise there is no aspiration. Everything she has provided. So if everything is all very comfortable, then one will just be very happy sitting at the samadhi, sitting with closed eyes, having the illusion of meditation, and believing that, well, life is good. So the difficulties come to help us accelerate the process. And she explains, it is because the consciousness awakens under the stress of difficulties. If everything is easy and peaceful, one falls asleep. That is also how Sri Aurobindo explained the necessity of war. In peacetime, one becomes slack. It is a pity. Not that mother wants it like that. That's very clear. She does not want the Kali method and she does not want people to go through. That should be very, very clear. When somebody asked her, when the steel plates had come in the ashram, earlier there used to be that porcelain plates. So the sadhak was very happy. Mother, somebody has offered steel plates. He said, I want my children to have in plates of gold. So it's not that she wants that or she gives difficulties. But they come because there is a pressure of the evolutionary force to change. Mother represents the highest grace to take us through this accelerated evolution. Because otherwise, one will break down. So she says, I cannot say that I find it very pretty, but it seems to be like that. And then she said, this is an experience I am having more and more. For the contact with this true divine love. So we often use it very loosely. I love the mother, and it's very... We don't even know how to love. Forget about, the divine. We don't even know how to love that itself. And you have to go through stages till you reach that point where you can receive this divine love. So she says, to be able to manifest, that is, to express itself freely. A divine love which doesn't need any kind of barriers, restraints, but it expresses itself freely. It demands an extraordinary strength in beings and things which does not yet exist. In fact, she said to manifest this love, you need two things, strength and wideness. Otherwise, just can't express it. One breaks down. Otherwise, everything falls apart. And then she speaks of a lot of details, everything. And then she asks us to be patient. We, I mean men, live harassed lives. She knows how we live. It is a kind of half-awareness of the shortness of their lives. And perhaps this is one reason, some people, because they are aware of the shortness, they turn towards higher things because they realize that, like people like Buddha marked out for that they look at the transientness of life and turn toward the permanent. Others take a different route. They end up enjoy more, as if, everything is ebbing out. So they want to extract the last bit. Not realizing the more you do that, the more it tends to, because you realize after a point of time that it's ebbing out and it's frightening. So most people, and that's why they start, wanting people around, they want, because they just cannot accept this idea of the shortness of human life. They do not think of it, but they feel it half consciously. And so they are always wanting quick, to rush from one thing to another, to do one thing quickly and move on to the next one, instead of letting each thing live in its own eternity. They're always wanting Forward, forward, forward. But this not in the sense of forward means progress. So she's talking of forward means rushing from one thing to another, and the work is spoiled. And then she says you have to learn to live in a state of, instead of a state of inner tension, but in a state of eternity. Because you are always hurrying, 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 and nothing you do is good, you are in a state of inner tension, which is completely false, completely false. And then she says, what is the way you can do it? So, she gives a very interesting example. One should contemplate the sky and the stars and identify oneself with their infinitude. All things that widen you and give you peace. So basically, stars, now you don't find stars. So you have only star movies and Star Wars. You don't have stars. But even I've seen, if you watch on a big screen, the image of galaxies drifting, space, it's amazing. It is, of course, a virtual reality, but still, I mean, you can't nowadays, except in villages, probably you can't find stars. The other is ocean. So here there is the ocean. Ocean also, many people are not fortunate to find. But here there is an ocean right at the doorstep, actually. You don't even have to travel some distance. So, or in imagination, to think of something very vast, or simply the boundlessness of space, endlessness of time, then it tends to quieten us. These are means, but they are indispensable. And I have observed this in the cells of the body. They always seem to be in a hurry to do what they have to do, lest they have no time to do it. And we see how it operates. You eat food, it goes in the mouth and saliva starts. It goes in the stomach and the process of digestion. Everything is constantly churning and going on. And so she says, so they do nothing properly. Muddled people, some people who turn everything upside down, their movements are jerky and confused, have this to a high degree, this kind of haste. Yesterday, someone was complaining of rheumatic pains and he was saying, oh, it's such a waste of time. I do things so slowly. Mother's remedy, I said. Mother smiles. So what? I see. It's okay. Sometimes we are so elderly people, if you tell them that, okay, use a stick. No, we look old. So, sometimes you say that old is all over your face and your face. A stick is not going to add or take away anything. It's something you accept and do joyously and gracefully. It's a art how to accept the flow of life. So she says, so what? He didn't like it. You see, for someone to complain when he is in pain means that he is soft. That is all. But to say, I am wasting so much time, I do things so slowly, it gave a very clear picture of the haste in which men live. You go hurtling through life, to go where? You end with a crash? What is the use of that? And truly, I mean, that pains, etc., when people slow down. So where are you rushing? Where are you running? No, we can't go parties, we can't meet people, and we can't do. It's okay, sit quietly. It's an opportunity to. Many people in the nursing home, when they go and stay for some time, they understand this here because they are tuned to. Well, it's a different season altogether. It's a time to gather inside and enjoy that moment. And then, very interesting, there's an aphorism, when he watched the actions of Janak. This we have taken up, so I'll skip that and I'll come to this aphorism. It's about the divine power which is acting in the world, how it acts, and what is the process, what is the mechanism. So for the divine, it's very simple. Increase, keep pressure. But problem is that if he increases too much pressure, either the resistance becomes so much or the vessel breaks down. That's why Sri Aurobindo said, though he was completely in possession of the supramental power, he did not use it. Even Second World War, he didn't use it. He said, I use the overmind force. Why? He says, because, well, if I put too much pressure, humanity won't be able to take it and there may be devastating results. So, the moment you use overmind power, it's a play of possibilities. So, she says that how this power presses upon matter, and then even people who think the opposite, who want the opposite, do what is wanted without wanting to. Even the things that by their very nature are opposed to it are turned around. She says that when that power acts for national events, relations among nations, world circumstances, it acts like that, constantly, as a tremendous power. And so, if one is oneself in a state of union with the divine will, without any intervention of thought or any conception or idea, one can follow it. One sees and knows. There's something very interesting which she writes as a footnote to it, and that is, it is interesting to note that shortly before this conversation, Mother received the following question: is the American presence and intervention in Vietnam justifiable? She replied, from what point of view are you asking this question? And then she says, if it is from the political point of view, politics are sunk in falsehood, and I have nothing to do with them. So if it's a political question, it is meaningless. If it is from the mental point of view, moral point of view, morality is a shield which ordinary men flourish to protect themselves from the truth. We use the shield of morality, good and bad, right and wrong. Because truth can be actually devastating. Because if you see the truth which is in the inner being of mankind, very few can take it, very few can accept it. So it's like a shield, because it's difficult even to see the truth within oneself as it is developing, and let alone express it. So she says that she is not interested in moral point of view. If it is from the spiritual point of view, the divine will alone is justifiable, and that is what men travesty and distort in all their actions. So there is a divine will wanting to manifest. It starts the manifestation from within. But the moment it comes into the surface consciousness, into the field of desires and ego, it starts getting distorted. And that's where the resistance comes up. That's what she is expressing. The resistance of the inertia that is in every consciousness and in matter means that this action, instead of being direct and perfectly harmonious, becomes confused, full of contradictions, clashes and conflicts, instead of everything resolving itself normally, so to say, smoothly, as it should be. All this inertia that resists and opposes. So people sometimes complain and ask that if divine is acting, working in the world, why there is so much confusion? So the answer is, we are the creators. If mankind could respond beautifully, smoothly, harmoniously, there would be no problem. But invariably it is very difficult, because humanity brings in the ego, it brings the desires, and all that creates a problem. So it becomes a tangled movement in which things collide and there is disorder and destruction, which become necessary only because of the resistance, but which were not indispensable, which might not have existed, which truly speaking should not have been. Because this will, this power is a power of perfect harmony, where each thing is in its place and it organizes things wonderfully. This is so important. The divine action is an action of harmony. And that's why all who try to align themselves to the divine will, instinctively and invariably, they seek to build harmony. Because the end point which the divine will is planned, working itself, is not through all these conflicts, clashes, that's unnecessary things. And what is that harmony? Here she gives a clue. Each thing in its own place. which it is not true. We all know. So that is the great confusion of the world, great disorder, the evil, that things are not in their place. They may have been in their place at one point, but in time there is a constant shift. We want everything to be in that place as if it is rigid and fixed, but it's not fixed, because nature is constantly changing. It's pushing things out of, you go, your place is there. But obviously, it's like when a dog comes into the house where there is a cat. Now they have to find different places. You can't just, they fight. Whereas the owner will want to take care of both of them. But then they will fight. Because this is a scene I witnessed in my own room, so I know. I was very fond of a cat and also very fond of a dog. And one day it so happened that the cat was in the room and the dog came from outside following me. If I don't open the door and let him in, there will be a problem. I thought he'll understand. So I opened the door. Next moment, they looked at each other. And it was a scene. I tried to stop them by every means, failed. So, yeah, they are actually fighting, jumping at each other. Both felt, neither was afraid. Dog is not afraid, the cat is also not afraid. She lays the claim. How dare? She doesn't know that he is also my friend. So then, luckily, my room has 2 exits. One entry, 1 exit. So I first opened both the doors. But they are not ready to go out. So I had to pick the cat, because that's easy, no? You keep it out and close the door. Now this fellow is quiet. Now you also go out. This is a mess you have created. So he also went out. I closed the door, sat quiet. And then I went. The cat was hanging outside, waiting to be let in. I said, okay, you wait. Let me handle this fellow. So, you see. Now, if they were to read the love in my heart, it was a lesson actually. Both would be happy. But they cannot. Both are laying exclusive claim. Not realizing it's not necessary. You just have to be each in its own place, and life would be so wonderful. Like the stars, if they start fighting which is the bigger star, then they would create a Bollywood out there. Thankfully they don't. So, this is what is the secret of harmony, where each thing is in its own place. And things would be wonderful. It comes as an absolutely luminous and perfect organization. Problem is, we want to fix things. No, it's an evolving change. That's the big difficulty. It's not like fixed now for all eternity. In nature, nothing is fixed. It's changing, it's growing, it's progressing, it's moving its own journey. So there is a problem. So, it's perfectly luminous and perfect organization, which one can see when one has the vision. But when it comes down and presses on matter, everything begins to seethe and resist. Especially the outer life. The inner things shift. That's the interesting part. Because inner things don't follow any physical barriers. But when the physical level things have to be shift, it's so much more difficult. Therefore, to attempt to impute the disorders and confusions and destructions to the divine action, to the divine power, is another human foolishness people often attribute. They say Mahabharata was because of Krishna. No. Mahabharata was because of human stupidity and folly. It's not that Krishna wanted the war. Similarly, people attribute Ram. If you really actually look at the story, how much they tried, both of them, to prevent it. But things remain where they are, fixed. It is not that the catastrophe was intended, nor even foreseen. It is caused by the resistance. But things don't stop there. Thankfully, there is the grace. So how does the divine handle? So she says, and then there is added the vision of the action of grace, which comes to moderate the results wherever possible. That is to say, wherever it is accepted. So first there is the divine pressure. Things have to change according to a new vision. Again, all temporal things. In time and space, the play is going on. But there is resistance, so there is conflict, disorder. Then the grace comes. Okay, this is okay, that is okay, everything is fine, absorbs all your, challenges, and then lets things give them a new turn. So, and this explains why aspiration, faith, complete trust on the part of the earthly human element have a harmonizing power. Why? Because then you say, okay, you accept the divine will as it is manifesting itself. You don't struggle, fight, and this person did this to me or that person did. None of this comes. You have faith that divine will lead me through all of this. And my aspiration is to reach the divine and not, all this that is happening. He accepts, embraces, and therefore he has the power to change things towards closer to the divine vision. Because they allow the grace to come and set right the consequences of this blind resistance. So there are several things: divine action, the resistance, consequences of the resistance, which is disorder, confusion, and then the divine grace, which removes what needs to be removed. And ultimately, this has been at least my persistent, perpetual kind of experience of life. And often I just quote like this, that see, you trust the mother, have the aspiration. Your aspiration should be very clear. Union with the mother. Then slowly, everything will reach where it should reach. Don't fix it with the mind too much. It will reach, it will be shifted, and all this will happen through the twists and turns. It will reach where it should reach. That's the beauty. This is a clear vision, clear, even in the details. And then she says that she can see all this, how the world is going to shape, but she doesn't deliberately do the prophecy, nor Sri Aurobindo, because then it will add to the complication. That's why the mother and Sri Aurobindo never fixed a date, deliberately. And then something very beautiful. So what is the remedy? People often have problem, difficulty, but things are not going according to their plan. So they raise the wrong question. The wrong question is why the divine is doing this to me. But that's not the right question at all. Divine is not thinking like a human being and wanting to give us peace. Divine is carrying us on the path of truth, on our unique journey. But as a human being, we cannot understand. So we resist, and there is pain. This question, why divine is, even at one point, why bad things happen to good people, these are actually at one level, they are childish questions. Because that's not how the divine consciousness operates in its real action. Because that is our judgment of good and bad. This is a mind of duality which looks at it like that. But nevertheless, what do we do when there is the resistance, when there is the problem, when there is pain, struggle, difficulty? And she says very beautifully, to stop the resistance by total surrender, a total self-giving in every cell, if one can do that. This is the remedy. Mother, I don't understand any bit about myself or whatever is happening around. But I trust you completely, absolutely. Take me through this and everything. And then one will see how she smoothens things, irons out things, leads through the whole tangled anarchy called fate. That's how Sri Aurobindo describes. And then what happens? Next step, when we do this total surrender, in fact, many times I feel these events come only to teach us total surrender. Because you reach a point where you feel helpless. You don't know what to do. You're stuck somewhere. I don't know which way to go, this way, that way, because everything seems plausible, correct, everything seems right, everything seems. So what do you do? This is surrender. Take me, you carry me. And then she says, next, to stop the resistance by total surrender, a total self-giving in every cell, if one can do that. Of course, cellular level is a very big thing. They begin to feel the intense delight of existing only by the Lord, for the Lord, in the Lord. When this is established everywhere, all will be well. Even the material pains are because of the resistance, the inertia. The cells are not ready. That's why many people have developed aches and pains staying here. People attribute it to all kinds of things, from RO water to vitamin deficiency, which I have never understood why here people have vitamin D deficiency, to this or that. But it's because there is so much pressure on the physical consciousness, on matter to change. This is my understanding. Because people often ask. People expect, once you have gone to Pondicherry, you can write off your medical history. On the contrary. Now, but what is the solution? Solution is not multiplying medicine. Solution is to open these cells and this body at least, and to allow in that state of plasticity for the divine consciousness to act, to have no fear, to have absolute trust. And if we have that, then things go well. And then there is delight. And the thing we have to remind ourselves is that I am here for the mother. That's what, if we remember, existing only by the Lord, for the Lord, in the Lord. So, then she speaks about laws of nature and all, but maybe we can just go a little further. Okay. So this, of course, in our context we understand, because in India we have this idea of dharma. So dharma in the Western context becomes according to nature. But then which nature? They don't have this distinction. So Sri Aurobindo speaks about the double nature. It's there in the Gita and of course in the yoga. So he says, live according to nature runs the maxim of the West. But according to what nature? The nature of the body or the nature which exceeds the body? This first we ought to determine. And then people also have this question. If God has decided everything, has determined everything, why should I act? So that in, of course, several places Sri Aurobindo has answered very beautifully, Mother has answered. But see, the beauty of these aphorisms are, they are like power packed. Those high protein diets, you take 1 spoon is enough. It takes you space capsule diet. So this because God has willed and foreseen everything, thou shouldst not therefore sit inactive and wait upon His providence. For thy action is one of His chief effective forces. He has willed, foreseen. And your action, your will is one of the chief instruments which He is going to use. So what is the difference then? Up then and be doing. Uttisthata jagrata prapya varani bodhata. But not with egoism. That is the difference. But as the circumstance, instrument, and apparent cause of the event that He has predetermined. So we act according to, now that also he will say, that how to know God's command. But to start with that, we have to do our action and leave the rest to Him to decide, determine how it will shape, what results will come or not come. But our action is one of the instruments which is important. This is, of course, too wide. This, like if I have to use the cricket analogy, what he's going to tell us is not a sixer, but an 8 run or a 12 run, if there could be something like that. It's called over the boundary. So, it goes beyond the stadium. It's so powerful. When I knew nothing, then I abhorred the criminals, sinful and impure. It's a badge of ignorance. Oh, he's a criminal, he's a sinner, impure. And what he's going to tell next is even more revealing. When I knew nothing, then I abhorred the criminal, sinful and impure, being myself full of crime, sin and impurity. This called जोर का झटका धीरे से. But when I was cleansed and my eyes unsealed, then I bowed down in my spirit before the thief and the murderer, and adored the feet of the harlot. This, by the way, an actual story. Some of us may know it. Birth of Auroville. Know the story? Irumbai legend. There was a saint here. So you'll see Irumbai is one of the villages, So the legend goes, this 300, 400 years back. So the king called him in one of the... So he was inwardly a free person. And there was a dance going on of a courtesan. Then suddenly her gungru came out of the feet. So people are there and, But in his drishti, there is some darshita. So he went there, picked up the gungru and tied it to her feet. Everybody started condemning him for this action. What kind of saint is he? And he was sort of sent to be away from the village. When he went away, drought and famine came. And ultimately the king had a dream that you have sent away a truly, genuinely spiritual person. So they went and prayed to him. He said, it's fine. See, I have not done anything. I have not cursed anything. But then he saw in his inner vision, he said, after 300 years, when people from all over the world will come and plough this land for a high divine purpose, then everything will become fertile. Who could have imagined? 300 years after, people from all over the world will come, plough the land for a high divine purpose. See, everything happened when people started Auroville, the red soil. So, because you see differently, that is how Swami Vivekananda once got trained. When he went to a king's court and this courtesan came to dance, and he started walking away, and then she dances and she sings this song. Prabhuji more avgun chitna dharo. This is one of the Surdas ka. Prabhuji more avgun chitna dharo. Samdarshi hai naam tiharo. And then what is that? Surdas. But no, that line is very important. Ek loha. I'll translate in English because some of the people say. Ek loha puja mein rakhat. Ek ghar badhik pado. So she is singing, courtesan is singing, that, oh Lord, she is addressing to Swamiji, don't take into account my defects. Prabhuji mere avgun chitna dharo. Because you are a samdarshi, you are an equal-minded. And then she gives an example. This from Surdas, the mystic point. That one piece of iron is in the puja ki thali. Because, some of these things are made of iron or it's alloys. Ek ghar badhik pado, and one is in the place of the butcher. Paras gun avagun nahi dekhat, kanchan karat kharo. So paras is the alchemist stone which changes anything into gold. It says, if you take paras and try to touch it to these, it doesn't say, oh, you are in the in this place and I am not going to touch you. It touches the iron in this place, in the butcher's house or there, and its action is that it changes into gold. Since somebody has thankfully taken out, so I'll just quickly. Prabhu mere avgun chit na dharo, samadarshi Prabhu naam tiharo, chaho to par karo. It's up to you. You can easily take me across. Ek loha puja mein rakhat, ek ghar badhik paro, so duvidha paras nahi dekhat, kanchan karat kharo. So it doesn't calculate. It's good, bad, I'll touch only the holy ones. And then this is another interesting. Ek nadiya, ek nar kahavat, naal, mailo neel bharo, jab milke dau ek baran bhay, sursari naam paro. Sursari is the name of the Ganges. So actually, this is, if you have seen, I don't know, there is a meeting point. If you come down from Badrinath and you are going to, I don't want to use the name Delhi, but what is the Shivpuri on the way. So you will have a place where the two streams of Ganges are meeting. They are not yet Ganga. It's where Ganga becomes Ganga. So one of them is Mandakini and the other is Alaknanda. You can Google search and see. So one of them is coming through the plains. It is already coming to the plains. Rudraprayag. Thank you. So if you see, it is very, it's quite brackish water. And the other is coming from the mountains, it's greenish. And you can see the meeting point. From that point onwards, you say Ganga. And what a name. Surasari. Sur is the gods. So even, anybody, it purifies everyone. So they are coming from two different streams. So in the divine, it doesn't matter from where you are coming and joining. Once you join the divine stream, you touch, it purifies you. So he says, I saw. Now he is taking us further. Why did he touch? Is it only because he saw the divine inside? No, there is something still greater. The mystery is yet to come. For I saw that these souls had accepted the terrible burden of evil and drained for all of us the greater portion of the churned poison of the world ocean. So very often we say this, I think earlier also, when people, oh, this is evil. Yes, but this evil is in your heart also, in chinna little portions. That is the outward symptom of what one is carrying inside. So then one sees, how these things are there, and some people embody it, and that gives a shock to the world, sends shock waves to the world, and people begin to change. So how this evil which we see outside is kind of in everyone, but it gets concentrated in some people. There's a small little story about this, and the story goes that there was a man who used to have terrible headache in a village, and once Guruji was passing by his saint, and he said, sir, I get terrible headache, is there a remedy? So very cryptically he said, no, these things happen because of some sins, and so your sins, because of that you have the headache. So he went away. This man was very downcast that already I have a headache, now on top of it. Anyways, he has no choice. He asked the question, so he has to bear the brunt. So after 1 year when Guruji came back, he said, sir, what a magic you did. I told you my problem, you told the sins, and it just magically vanished in a few days' time. So you did the magic. He said, I didn't do the magic. All these people around you did the magic. He said, why? He said, ask them. Now everybody has a little headache, but you are free. Why? Because everybody started pointing a finger. This fellow, he is the sinner. So they all took. That's why Kabir also says something like that such people, they wash away other people's dirty linen. So, what a wideness. I mean, it's unimaginable. So who is the Superman? Everybody wants to know how to identify the Superman. So people are expecting that somebody will come and say, I had this wonderful, amazing experience, Okay, fine, but what are your actions? How is the Superman to be? Because we can't know or see what experience who is having what. But is there something very tangible to know whether a person is Superman or not? Here is Sri Aurobindo's aphorism. Nietzsche saw the Superman as the lion's soul passing on of camelhood. But the true heraldic device and token of the Superman is the lion seated upon the camel which stands upon the cow of plenty. Now this one part we need not go into, but very obvious, the lion's soul is who heroically takes on the world and all its forces and enters the battle, arena of the battle, on the side of all that is true and beautiful. And camel soul is somebody who is ready to take the burden of everyone. And the cow of plenty, Kamadhenu, is somebody who gives readily, generously. So, what is the sign of the Superman? If thou canst not be the slave of all mankind, it doesn't say, oh, only for some big people I'll uthao their juti and do all these things. All mankind. So, if thou canst be the slave of all mankind, thou art not fit to be its master. And if thou canst not make thy nature as Vasish's cow of plenty, with all mankind to draw its wish from her udders, what avails thy leonine supermanhood? Somebody who gives freely. The other day I was reading this, so beautiful. Somebody had posted, of course, it has been read earlier. What is the difference between Ananda and love? Says Ananda is when you receive from the divine and hold it within yourself. But love is when the same Ananda goes out in acts of giving. So, two signs he says, who is ready to become a slave. He's leonine in nature. He's not afraid. He's not a coward who is becoming slave because out of, weakness or out of... but he is ready to serve. Because he sees the Narayan in the Nar, but in the real sense, not ostentatious show and all that philanthropic activity. And at the same time, he is leonine in nature. That he'll explain next. And at the same time, he is someone who gives freely. He doesn't do a course, how many dollars for... because he is the cow of plenty. And cow of plenty is very interesting in India, is Kamadhenu. And Kamadhenu is another form of Aditi. So Aditi is infinite consciousness. She is also sometimes picturized as the cow. Now it is that same, this cow of plenty is drawing from the infinite consciousness. And therefore it can give freely. Because it's not something which is mine or I have to give. So the mother explains, to be the slave of all mankind means to be ready to serve mankind. And to make oneself as the cow of plenty means to be able to pour forth abundantly all the force, the light, the power that mankind needs in order to emerge from its ignorance and incapacity. For if this were not so, a superhuman being would be a burden rather than a help to earth. And there is a line in Savitri, the higher kind shall lean to lift up man. And there are people who will start quoting, helping humanity. It's not about it's not helping humanity with that egoistic sense, giving them kambal and all that. It's about what you receive from the divine, that infinity, that wealth. You share it. That's how Savitri puts in Savitri. In Savitri, Savitri says, imperfect is the joy not shared by all. So this is, otherwise supermanhood, you have one fantastic experiences, wonderful things happening inside. You are sitting in a corner, you are meditating, all right. It's all about you. But you are shunning away from work, shying away from sharing with all, because you have become a limited being who may be very great, without a doubt. But this greatness, if it is not shared, that's what we see in the life of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And some of our closest ones. Be, now he qualifies it further. Be to the world as the lion in fearlessness and lordship, that leonine man, as the camel in patience and service, as the cow in quiet, forbearing and maternal beneficence. Raven in all the joys of God as a lion over its prey. Don't shrink from anything. But bring also all humanity into that infinite field of luxurious ecstasy to wallow there and to pasture. So beautiful. You are enjoying wonderful things, like when we come to the ashram, you are receiving so much. It says there should be the double movement also to bring all mankind into this. Not like an outer conversion or anything, but to share this joy. So beautiful. And then finally, Well, this is something which people often ask. Okay, this one also we can read and then we can stop. 2, 3 beautiful aphorisms. He who recognizes not Krishna, the God in man. Narayan. Narayan is the dweller within Nar. That's how this one bhajan of Narsi Mehta, no? Vaishnav Jante, so he kahiye, Preet Parai Jane Re. It's a very powerful song. What is the point of, say, Ramanujacharya? He used the term Harijan, but not the way Gandhiji totally destroyed it. But in the original sense. So he used to, when his guru gave him his secret mantra, he said, don't tell it to anyone, because if you share it, you will be in hell. He went and called everybody. All those who could come, they came. I am going to tell you this mantra. Very beautiful. Okay, I can sincere. So he says, I'll tell you. So he called everybody and told the mantra. My guru has given me, if you say this mantra, you will be released from all suffering and pain. So Guru called him and gave him a good scolding. I'm forgetting I think Yaducharya, but anyways, one of his guru even tried to kill him because he had such different ideas. So he told ki, whatever you have done, now you will rot in hell. So what is his reply? He said, I don't mind. If because of this, many can escape hell, I don't mind going to hell for this purpose. So this is of course Vaishnav Jan. There's 4 lines. Vaishnav Jan te lene kahiye jo peed parai jaane re. Par dukhe upkar kare toye man abhiman na aayo re. When he doesn't say, oh, I am the doer, I am doing good, I am. Okay. Sakal lok मान सहुने वंदे निंदा ना करे केनी रे वाच काछ मन निश्चल राखे धन धन जननी तेरी रे वैष्णव जन रे तो तेने कहिए जो पीड़ पराई जाने रे. So beautiful, is Narsi Mehta, no? Am I right? Narsi Mehta. Okay. So he says, he who recognizes not Krishna, the God in man, knows not God entirely. That's what many of these Krishna cults in his name, they're very happy doing all their thing in. He who knows Krishna only, knows not even Krishna. There are also these fights which take place. Yet is the opposite truth also wholly true, that if thou canst see all God in a little pale, unsightly and scentless flower, then hast thou hold of his supreme reality. Even in that pale, slightly scentless flower. You see some of mother's names, very amazing. Some of those flowers which are so pale, and you just wonder. And she has given such lovely names, the presence of the divine. So, the question asked, which often people ask, once one has taken the path of Sri Aurobindo's yoga, should not one stop worshipping all other gods and goddesses? Direct question. Mother says, one who truly follows the path given by Sri Aurobindo, as soon as he begins to have the experience of this path, will find it impossible to continue to confine his consciousness to the worship of any god or goddess, or even of all of them together. So this is we can stop here, we'll continue this maybe a couple of more. Thoughts and aphorisms open doors to infinity. Jai Ma.